Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're getting back into Maestro War and Packs, and at this point hopping into the conclusion where Maestro Hulk faces Doom for the first time. And with this happening and Maestro facing someone who's getting a really good look at the before and after and what Maestro's become to this point, with Maestro being challenged and really settling into this Maestro role and leading to this point now, like it's interesting to get Doom's take on how different Maestro is from the Hulk that he knew before. So let's get into it, but first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch us spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so jumping back in and just starting with Maestro and the way that he ended the Pantheon, or better yet caused the Pantheon to end themselves, with them not being able to stop Maestro physically or mentally, which then led them to blow up their own base while also taking out what was left of AIM, which is something that is still pretty interesting and we'll revisit that in a little bit. But after this, when Maestro returning back to Dystopia, he kinda already knows that he's a force to be reckoned with, because AIM couldn't hold him, neither could the Pantheon, and now in this world, or what's left of it, he sees himself as the ultimate power. Like nothing can stop this guy. And he assumes that his people see him the same way, but when he gets back and one of the locals are like, oh, you're back. And he just tells them like, of course I'm back, who said I wouldn't be? And everyone just points to his castle and they say him. Which we knew from the last issue it was Doom, but when Maestro returns to Dystopia and he like kicks in the door and yells Doom, it's really just for show, and we'll talk about how in just a little bit. Because when Maestro gets here, like Doom, who has very much made himself at home, and I love what he's done with the place. But when Maestro gets here, the first thing we see that's kind of like, what's going on? And that first thing is that Doom is expecting Maestro's return. And with seeing his return, he casually greets him as Doctor, kind of just like, let's get something to eat. And it's here where we find out that both Maestro and Doom, they had a pre-arranged agreement. Because when Doom asks if their plan worked out perfectly, and Maestro's like, yes, but they threw a couple curveballs trying to play with my mind. And when Doom asks him like how exactly, and Maestro's like, don't matter, they failed. And it's pretty crazy, like finding out that Doom set up the Pantheon by working with Maestro this whole time. And it really makes you think like, man, the Pantheon's defeat was delivered through death by okie doke. Like Doom truly finessed them into the grave. But with this happening, Doom then asks about AIM and Maestro lets him know like, yeah, they done too. And with getting rid of AIM and the Pantheon, like that was their collective goal, because those were the only two groups that could really contest them. And so with the two of them out of the way, Doom is then like, okay, now good, now we can unite and rule this world together. And Maestro's just like, okay, about that part. And then when Doom's like, what does that mean? Maestro then tells him it means your drink's poison. And immediately Doom just falls to the ground choking. And when this happens, Maestro, he's a bit disappointed, because when he used a similar trick on Hercules by way of vapor, that was different, because Hercules is just a strong guy on the outside who's regular on the inside. But with Doom being a genius, Maestro's surprised that he was able to defeat him this easily, and he expected Doom to have some type of preparation for this. And while Doom's on the ground, he tells him, I did. Because Doom knew that Maestro was gonna double cross him, so he just covered all his bases. And when he looks up, he just blasts Maestro clean out of the building. But in the case of Doom, like the way that he survived the poisoning, like he tells Maestro, like before he even swallowed a single bite, he took an antitoxin, because he just knew that Maestro was gonna put something in either the food or the drink. And like with seeing this, I just think in my mind like, okay, Doom going to eat with Maestro, he's like, okay, this guy's gonna poison me. And I don't know which poison it is, so I'm gonna take the cure for everything. And then you got Maestro on the other hand, who's probably talking to the cook, and he's telling them like, hey, put some poison in Doom's food. And the cook's like, which one? And Maestro's just like, all of them. And in my mind, that's just how like whatever poison with whatever antitoxin, like that's how they canceled out. And I mean, I could be off, but hey, trust no one. But after this, Doom, he continues to go at Maestro, and he hits him like with the power of 1,000 lightning storms. And when he does it, he's kind of like, well, how do you like that? But in return, Maestro is just unbothered. And it's in that moment where Doom just picks up like, hey, okay, this dude is not only strong, but he's stronger than any time that we fought before, which kind of hints at the indication of Maestro being stronger than your Professor Hulk or your Savage Hulk even, which wasn't necessarily the case when the last miniseries began. And this brings me like to my main thoughts, which I think about both of these Maestro series so far. Because from starting out from the beginning of the first Maestro series, Bruce was very much at your Professor Hulk or even your Savage Hulk level of strength. And it didn't go up or down, it didn't change when it seemed like he got madder, like it just stayed where it was until something deeply painful happened, which gave him another buff in size and strength, like the Pantheon playing with his mind and using his mother to try to trick him, which literally made Maestro bigger and stronger. And like at this point, this isn't what Doom is making his comparison off of. Like he's just comparing Hulk from many years back to the Hulk that he's facing now. But what I'm saying, like with Maestro, we're pretty much seeing that he's traded off like the ability to get stronger as he gets madder with the ability to just level up, and that new strength is just how strong he is all the time. And if you think about it, you can get angry and angrier. But on the flip side, when you're angry to the point where you're just done with something, you can't be more done with it. So with Maestro, it's almost like the deeper his resolve gets, the more power or strength that he has all the time, which I don't think Doom really knows yet, but he's gonna learn. But in the case of Doom, like after dodging that counter from Maestro, Maestro then leaps at him and Doom just catches him in mid-jump and tosses him away. And it's pretty much his strategy for fighting Maestro because he's not as strong as him nearly, so for that reason he has to go for the zoning technique. But with the direction that Doom had tossed him in, Maestro more or less steered his flight and made his way into Alchemax. But Maestro made it work. I guess he kind of just held his arms out and kind of curled his toes to kind of pan and tilt, you know. But at the end of the day, it worked because he made it to Alchemax, and that's where he wanted to land, and he made it there. And when Doom saw this, like he followed of course, and at first he didn't see him, but then he switched to infrared and he saw this big old Hulk with these little legs running around like one floor down, and he was like, oh yeah, that's him. But initially, like with Doom following Maestro here, he first thought about all the things in this place that he can make use of. But what he didn't account for was Maestro choosing Alchemax, and with doing so, shifting the surroundings to his advantage. So when Doom follows him here, Maestro just pushes a button, which then pulls Doom into these huge electromagnets, which he uses to just strip the armor off of Dr. Doom, reducing him to nothing but Victor in a green robe, which at the end of the day is still Victor, but without his armor, he can't take nearly the amount of damage that he could have going against Maestro. And when Maestro goes for the first hit, which is still a pulled punch to a degree, but if Doom still had his armor on, like he wouldn't have flinched from this. But at this point with Doom not having his armor, Maestro's hearing bones cracking and all that. But when Maestro hits him and he knocks Doom through the wall into the next room, Doom then turns around and looks at Maestro, and Maestro's like, oh my god, your face. Did I just do that just now? Like, man, I was only trying to kill you, man. Like, your face, I didn't mean to do that. Like, that's crazy. But it's here where Doom tells Maestro that as far as the face disfigurement, he has Reed to thank for that. But at this point when it comes to fighting, like, Doom is done. He thinks one of his legs are broken, so he has to find an exit quick. So then when he makes his way to his mask, because if nothing else, then that's at least his ticket out of there. And when he puts it on, he activates his matter transmitter in order to then move himself somewhere away from Maestro. Anywhere. And it shows Maestro like before this fight had even began, Doom already had his exit strategy, like his contingency was set already. But even with seeing this, like this is one of the things that just has me thinking like Doom, he always has like contingencies built in. Like there's a number of them already in his armor, and at least in the cases where it's actually Doom, because you know half the time it's a Doom bot. But most of the time he has a number of contingencies for many situations, and it really feels like in this instance that this was the quickest one available for him needing to get out as quickly as possible. But after this, we then go back over to the Minister, who's back at Maestro's palace where Doom had just recently settled in, and when we see the Minister wandering around, it seems like he's found the time traveling technology which Doom had used in order to arrive here in the first place. But then after this, we go over to the epilogue, which then takes us to the remains of the former AIM base. And when this happens, we just see this hand pop up from the ground, because it's here where the Abomination just crawls his way out from the rubble after being awakened and freed from AIM by that bunker buster missile which was sent by the Pantheon. And this shows us that the Abomination is definitely going to come back in Maestro World War M issue 1, which I can't wait to see, because even with like these different series being like a slow build, but even still with that being the case, like it's fun to see Maestro just kind of level up along the way. And now with the Abomination back, we'll get to see what he thinks of the new and improved base level Hulk. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below so you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.